We've been friends for a long time. Make the call.
I mean, this is pretty professional, guys.
Nice show you got going here.
Oh, Mr. BC Lund. How are you, my friend?
Hey, buddy. Rick's Cabaret, one of the original sin stocks from back in the day.
Dude.
Do they still have that ETF, Vice?
You are in Orange County. How are the Republicans enjoying this victory?
So this is so crazy, but Orange County voted Democrat again.
Really? Wow.
It's people think that Orange County and Huntington Beach specifically is some wacky MAGA hardcore conservative. And yes, down by the pier, you get these nuts.
But it's relative on a relative basis. Yes.
Well, yeah, right. Relative to Manhattan, for sure. But you've seen like those nuts at Future Proof down at the pier with the flags. But most of Orange County and Huntington Beach, we're Orange County Republicans, right? We want low taxes. We don't care what happens in your bedroom. We want safe streets. But other than that, we're fairly liberal.
Wow. I mean, it's California at the end of the day. All right. So before we get into stocks, I want to get into the market dynamics here, BC Lund, because you've been around for a minute, right? This isn't your first rodeo. You've been through a few bull market and bear market cycles, an election or two in your day. Can we talk about, the bifurcation between the polls and what the media was telling you, and then what was actually happening in the markets, and, the markets being far closer to reality than what they were telling you? Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was laughing last night because I have friends that are my age and younger that still are watching CNN, MSNBC, like all the, Fox, trying to get their information. They do the same thing on finances, right? And I don't understand it because I told my subscribers in the days coming up to the election, I said, I don't think we're going to have to wait very long. Like, I wasn't sure who was going to win, but like the market to me was not saying that we were going to have a long drawn out, wait, that we would probably know by the end of the night. And sure enough, we did know by the end of the night. So, look, I think mixing politics and finance is so bad. If anyone remembers back in 2016, so Kurt Eichenwald, who was the New York Times Wall Street guy, he famously tweeted that he had sold all of his stocks and all of his kids' stocks because of a Trump, presidency. And then he went on to miss 75% return. So I think whenever you try to conflate your political views with the market, it's a bad idea.
So my dad called me this morning and we were talking about exactly this thing. All the clients that came into his office or called him over the past few weeks and told him about their plans to sell some things or everything. And I just said, Dad, you can't help those people. Like, there's really nothing you could say or do.
No, you can't help them. And because they have an ideology, right? It's like a religion. They believe, and it's all kind of based around a control thing. Like, if this happens, then I'll do that. And the funny thing about the market is, even if Kamala Harris had won, like, markets are pretty smart. Companies are pretty smart. They figure out ways to make money, so I wasn't really worried either way.
Yeah, I felt the same way. And I did watch CNN last night because watching grown adults cry on live television is just...
Well, you should have seen MSNBC. It was even better.
It's just too good to miss. So not something you get to see every day.
Yeah, and look, today is a glorious day across America because now everybody knows that the Starbucks holiday cups are in, right? This makes me so happy. It means that it's really the holidays. And I have a great outlook on life this morning, I have to tell you.
Enough with that pumpkin spice shit, right?
It's tea. It's English breakfast tea, JC. Relax.
I'm drinking my iced coffee out of a plastic straw to celebrate.
Is there Cuban coffee, right? Isn't there some sort of Cuban coffee that's supposed to be pretty good? Right?
Yeah, Cuban coffee is like crack.
Yes.
I once went with my friends on the way home from the beach, and we stopped by the Cuban coffee place, and I had 2 espressos back to back. And then like half an hour later, I got to my parents' house and I was going to lay down and take a nap because I forgot that I had just drank all that coffee. So I laid down. I was like a crackhead. I was like,
no, there's definitely cocaine.
Like, what am I doing? My heart's about to explode. Yeah.
That's funny.
All right. Can we talk about sector rotation? Enough with the end zone dances. Everybody's rich. We're all making a lot of money. Great. Now what? I've had my eyes on this China thing and seeing if on a post-Trump election, they come in and buy China. So far, all they're doing is selling China. So I'm curious to see if they come in and buy them, because that will be my personal buy signal. So I'm looking for rotation here, some kind of rotation other than smalls over large, because that's obviously ripping this morning. I really want to see the at the end of the day, Strazza, the ROCs on smalls large. I think we might get some thrusty trust. Mr. BC Lund, talk to me about rotation. Are you looking for any? Are you just following the trends that are already in place? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing is for any trader or investor, is to not limit yourself to what you think could happen, right? I'm just open to any possibilities. And sometimes it's the opposite of what you think. Like you made a reference with Kenny's segment about the moment it was to sell, right? I can't remember what the event was, but like I remember when there were rumors that Steve Jobs was sick and had cancer, right? And people kept thinking, does he have it? Does he have it? Does he have it? And then the day that the company actually announced it, that Apple announced it, was the day that their stock bottomed. Right. So sometimes these are the total opposite thing. Now, I'm not saying you should sell this rally. I'm just saying don't get too married to anything that you think is going to happen. As our friend Brian Shannon says, only price pays. So let price and technicals guide you. Be open to different ideas. I mean, think of how many people never saw the real estate stock rally back in October of was it 2022, whatever it was, right? So just keep your mind open to what could happen, and then just follow the technicals.
And you know that Jerome Powell doesn't like it when the stock market does too well. He likes to like snuff that right out, and he's gonna.
Is that what he told you? Is that what
he does it every time? When we get like these ripping rallies, he comes on and all of a sudden he sounds all sad and doesn't tell the market what they want to hear. I think he's phenomenal at it, and he's gonna have a chance tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, generally when you get really, I mean, I saw the Russell futures were up like 6% overnight. Generally, when you get something like that, there's a little bit of exuberance in it. Now, I will temper that with something that you and I have talked about so many times here, Steve, is that Russell, right, the IWM wall, right? It keeps hitting that thing here. So in that case, if we actually gap up over that and hold it, then yes, we're probably going to keep going eventually higher. But, sure, it's all about your time frames. Kenny said it's about your time frames. If you're a long-term investor, I don't think you should be doing anything today. If you're a short-term trader, you might want to start trimming some things. Just making sure you're banking some profits.
What do you think about searching for maybe relative weakness here this morning and looking for things that are getting thrown out maybe and shouldn't be? Because pot stocks come to mind.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you mean pot stocks? I mean, I tweeted earlier today, I said, no matter what side of the argument you were on yesterday, one thing's for sure, pot stocks lose again.
That is probably true. Yeah, and they're down 20. The Advisor Shares Pure U.S. Cannabis ETF MSOS down another 20%. So as it turns out, there is not support at the bottom of the chart.
Florida said no. I don't know what other states said no, but we said I was really surprised. I thought it was going to pass.
It's still illegal to smoke pot in Florida.
I can't smoke pot.
Like the fact that Florida has no laws, but they have that law. Like,
I know, dude.
There's a carve out right around Strazza's house. That's okay, but the rest of Florida you can't.
Well, I was talking to somebody about it, and I was like, I'm gonna smoke pot regardless of whether or not this law passes or not. So like, I'm okay, but for the rest of Florida, it's kind of a bummer.
I don't think the pot is on the Perlman program.
No, it's not. I'm loath to quote Doug Cass, as he was the first person ever to block me on Twitter, but even he said
not the last though.
Yeah, rather it's for sure not the last. He's a big pot bull, and he, I think, tweeted out that pot is uninvestable for the next 6 months, like it was investable in the previous 2 years. But whatever. So
hold on a second. Let me check my math. No one said it'd be any math involved. 557. If it closes, well, not quite all-time lows. It's not quite an all-time low for MSOS, but the fact that it's even close is a joke.
Well, we've talked about this before. We're waiting for it to delist, and then we buy all the pot stocks we can.
You are so spot on, Brian Lund. Jesus Christ, you're so fucking right.
Thank you.
So right. You're absolutely right. As soon as they delist that shit, flip the book. 100%.
That's right.
You're so right. So anything that's going to happen?
So this has been a great year, right? And look, I'm the first person to tell you if I have a shitty year. It's been a great year. And about 2 weeks ago, I started trimming some of my bigger positions, and I thought, okay, what are some stocks I want to buy that kind of got ahead of themselves that I want to start buying So for me, I have to kind of hack my own personality. And one of the things I do is I'll take a very small position in a stock that I'm interested in, because that will really focus me. As much as I try to follow things without being in them, I just somehow I lose track of them. So I started picking up some very small positions in a bunch of names, thinking that they were going to pull back. Unfortunately, most of them have kept going higher. Palantir, Shack, Amazon, things like that. So PayPal, not so much. But so some of these things, I'm waiting to see them pull back to add to positions. They're not going to probably pull back today. But it's a great problem to have your positions going higher. I just wish I was longer. I do like, I've been in this coin trade, right? This buy right that I've sold calls, bought them back, brought my.
Yeah, why don't you explain what you've been doing with that?
Pretty good.
Yeah, so I sold when coin was about 237 in May. I sold some 240s, some December 2240s, because there was a massive premium, like almost a 33% premium. Sold those. I bought them back for about 75-80% of the value, then sold them again when they rallied, bought them back again, sold them again, and I made a mistake, right? I bought them back going into earnings because I got greedy, right? I thought, I don't want to be covered on them. I want to have just the commons. Of course, we saw what happened to coin. But here's the thing, right? We had
that was the right move, though, Brian.
Maybe. Look, I feel like I got a little too cute with it, but whatever. We had that big drop after earnings, but we're now starting to eat away at that. Steve, you and I have talked about this before. When you see a stock drop big on earnings, right, and work its way back up either in the same day over the course of a week or so, if it gets back above the level it was at where it dropped, it's usually game on, because it means all the information for at least 90 days is in the market, and it shows you that buyers have showed up. And right now, pre-market, I don't know if the market's open yet, is coin looks like it's going to erase that drop. So I'll be real interested to maybe even add to that.
So we're 4 days. This will be the 4th day after their earnings reaction, and we're back to above where we opened the day before their earnings report. So we would view this as like a positive earnings reaction, like a market beat. And the best thing about Coinbase's last earnings report is it was really a nothing burger. There was nothing to see. Their subscription revenues are growing beautifully. They're up like 50% year over year. That's great. But they really need a bull market down the cap scale. The altcoins, the shit coins. That's when Coinbase will make 10x the earnings that they make, in a quarter when there's not a bull market for altcoins, when there is one. Their operating leverage is insane. So that was one of these earnings reports, Brian, where it's like, it was fine, but like everybody knew it wasn't a bull market for altcoins, and this wasn't going to be their quarter. Now, with the price action popping off and Doge and friends, this is Coinbase's time. I think.
And you tweeted that exactly after the earnings. You tweeted out that you saw what was going on in the coin, but you were attributing it to just general weakness right. And you're right. I mean, that's what it looks like.
We are so back with the crypto.
We have a crypto president apparently now. So,
it's
Can we, what are your thoughts if there was if the polls were actually right and those people weren't lying to you? How do you think the market would be reacting right now? Would it be the same thing, or would it be the exact opposite?
You mean if Harris won?
If Harris won, crypto's getting slaughtered, Dow's down 2,000 points. Is that what you think, or no?
So look, I was very clear about this going into the election. Is I think you can't argue that if Harris had got in, that there would be, not saying she would pass everything because she still has to deal with Congress, but there would be a higher regulatory environment, a higher tax rate environment, all that stuff. I think initially we probably would have got a sell-off, but again, markets are pretty smart. Companies are pretty smart. I think after an initial sell-off period, we would have probably stabilized and probably started to go higher. Maybe not as aggressively as we would in a Trump presidency. But look, we've got all sorts of things coming. Trump's talking about tariffs. People are now debating whether tariffs are good for the market. There's so much coming. Again, I just tell people, just follow the technicals. And like you've said so many times, JC, know your time frames. Like if you are investing for the next 20 years, who cares what's happening today, right? But if you're an active trader, you have to take a different perspective. And above all, don't limit what you think will happen, right? If you say, I know this is going to happen, not only can you be wrong, but you get tunnel vision and you just blind yourself to any other possibilities that might happen. I just had this argument in my Discord the other day. I thought the VIX was consolidating, looked like it was ready to go higher, gun to my head. Had someone else there that said, no, the internal mechanics are not like they were in December. They're last year. They look like it's going to go down. I like that input, right? I want someone to challenge my thoughts because maybe I'm wrong. And then when I started to see it go down yesterday, I'm like, you know what? Let's just let go of my opinion and change my mind.
Yeah.
What are we buying? What's the end of the year trade, Mr. BC?
Well, so speaking about that reversal type thing where you drop and you go up, I do like the action we've seen in some of the home builders. Like if you look at names like Lennar, Lennar gapped right down to, I think it was the 200 or the 50 and then just turned around. So I want to see some stability there. I'm looking at some of those things. I think we might be in a pullback phase for the nuclears. Like if you look at CCJ, it's had a pretty decent pullback. That might be something to pick up.
Why do you think the home builders are getting hit this morning? Because
they wanted Kamala. They wanted Kamala. She was going to subsidize new home purchases.
Yeah, and we'll see. Look,
isn't that communism?
No, it's fine.
Like paying people to buy homes?
No.
We're going to see some short-term volatility, right? I'm not saying you should go out and jump on these right now. I'm saying these are areas to watch, right? I like Zoom, right? Zoom broke out recently. Now, of course, it's probably going to have a little bit of weakness today, but it looks like it's breaking out of that stage 1 that we've talked about so many times. So there's a lot of interesting names out there. One that
hold on, Brian, why do you say, excuse my ignorance, why Zoom's flat this morning, but why would you think it'd be down today?
Just because... what's that?
It's been up a ton. It's run.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Just because I think it might.
But a lot of things have been up a ton that are up today. I'm just curious why would you think Zoom would be down today?
It might have that China connection to it as well.
Really?
You know, yeah. I mean, who knows? You know, it's hard to say. But I think the other thing that's interesting, and this one I've looked at a few times, and it's never quite worked for me, but it's looking interesting again, is AI. Right? It's got this wedge. It's kind of in a channel. So, and it's going to be very easy to know if it breaks out. It's not there yet, but it's something I want to keep an eye on.
It does look good. It does look good.
And then how about this whole situation with rates absolutely ripping, bonds getting the shit kicked out of it? In theory, bonds crashing may or may not be a good thing for the stock market. But in this case, the stock market is saying it is a good thing. Because if you think bonds are getting killed because of inflation, look at copper and oil getting killed today. So rates, correct me if I'm wrong, Strazza, you know better than me. Seems like rates are ripping because the market's telling you the world's never been a better place.
Yeah, but there are competing dynamics, right? So like, yes, I think so. The higher rates situation is an economic growth.
Not an inflation.
But like, look at the banks. The banks are telling you today, we've been a group that wants lower interest rates for years now. We need lower interest rates or we're going to keep blowing up. But today they're like, deregulation and a Republican sweep last night is a hell of a lot more important than the bond market. So there's always
7.5%, dude.
Yeah, but there's always more than one thing going on, right? So
and that's where it comes in, where these companies are very adaptable, right? They know how to pivot. They know how to position themselves in changing environments. I think they're going to have a lot more leeway in a Trump administration than they will in a Harris one. So, but these guys, we're talking guys like Jamie Dimon, right? These are smart guys that know how to navigate these waters. Maybe in the short term, there's a little bit of a, concern or confusion, but long term, these guys, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think the opportunity is in the regionals, right? Like, I don't think the big banks trade is anything new.
Look at Carrie. Carrie's firmed up pretty well recently, right?
And it's breaking out of a nice little multi-month range here. The regionals, the big banks, they're good. And the market already sniffed that out, over a year ago. They're not cheap anymore in terms of their price to book value, but the regionals are still super cheap. And just a little bit of deregulation, these guys are going to jack their dividends, buy back a ton of stock. And what does the market want more than that? So
yeah, and one I haven't looked at this morning yet, but I talked with Brian Shannon a lot at Stocktoberfest, and I've been talking with is XBI, right? Watching XBI, because that's obviously going to move with IWM, and I think that thing is primed to go. So that's another thing I'm going to be looking for. Moving into the end of the year.
Is the biotechs.
Yep.
So good.
I got to tell you, when you go in stock by stock in biotechs, you're going to get a much better idea of how well biotechs have been trading versus like an XBI. Underneath the surface, Brian, these things are moving, man.
Can you say Madrigal for me?
Madrigal.
Yeah.
Madrigal. Yes.
Madrigal.
So an XBI is a great vehicle for the average investor because if you're trying to pick individual biotech stocks, you can. They're like Chinese stocks. You can wake up there
Too
down.
many of them in there,
That's
Brian.
right. That's
There's a zillion biotechs in there.
Yeah.
We didn't want to play that.
Make your own basket.
We didn't want to play that game. We wanted to express a bullish thesis on the group, and we said, forget it. XBI calls, get it done.
And I'm bullish on Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's my favorite time of year, so I'm super happy.
What is the better holiday, Christmas or Thanksgiving?
Wow. If I was a kid, I would have said Christmas for sure. As I've gotten older and more culinary in my old age, like Thanksgiving, we really do it up. But my wife has coined this thing called Thanksmas, right? It's the period after Halloween, right? You get that Halloween crap out of here, and you start kind of transitioning a little bit.
Halloween.
You transition into Christmas. So like when we have our Thanksgiving dinner here with all our friends and family, we'll have a Christmas tree up, but it's not decorated, right? So it's like a fall tree, and then we get past Thanksgiving, and then we start decorating. So it's a nice transition.
Dude, these guys put my lights up on my house like 3 weeks ago.
You can't even put up your own Christmas lights, huh?
Yeah. So just for everyone out there,
I'm gonna get on a ladder and get on a roof? Are you fucking crazy, bro?
So dude, my second newsletter, which is free, which is called The Anecdote. I have a story this week exactly about that, and it's called "The Key to a Happy and Long Life: Don't Fall." And it's all about getting up on the roof and putting on lights and what could happen. So check that out.
I don't get on roofs. I don't use chainsaws. Like the risk reward in any of those things is not worth it. You pay the guy to get on the roof and do the thing.
Yeah. Well, you're a trader. You're evaluating risk all the time, JC. I'm sure when you walk in at night, you think, what should I say to my wife? Will this make her upset? Like, you're always evaluating stuff. I get it.
I see what you did there, Mr. Brian Lund. I agree wholeheartedly. Thanksgiving over Christmas is not even close. And I agree, when I was younger, I would have had different opinions. Spot on. You know what I got this year? I want to hear your thoughts on the turkey. I ordered at the butcher spatchcocked brined turkey. Never done a spatchcock brine turkey for Thanksgiving. I'm pretty sure it's going to be awesome. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So what we do is, I know it sounds cliche, but Williams-Sonoma has a fantastic brine, right? I get it every year early because they run out of it. It's like a garlic and spice. It's their fall brine. And what my wife did last year, so we did 2 turkeys, and one of them she butterflied, right? If you can believe it, right? And so you butterfly it, you get it flat. And then she did some magical stuff to it. I don't know. So we had one traditional turkey and then one butterflied. And then I made a stracotto, which is an Italian, it's like a pot roast, but you literally cook it for 2 days in this great tomato. And then I made funeral potatoes, which is like a Irish wake type of potatoes. It's like a casserole that's got the top layer is like cornflakes and the bottom is like almost like a mayonnaise potatoes. I mean, we do it up out here. Seriously.
That sounds great.
Yeah. I'm getting hungry right now just talking about it.
What's the difference between a spatchcock and a butterfly? Or is it the same thing?
So butterfly is obviously, like if you get your filet mignon, sometimes I get a butterfly. You're just cutting it and splaying it. So I don't know what spatchcock
is. You're debone spatchcock, you're taking out all the bones.
Okay, no, you're not taking the bones out. You're just basically breaking, I guess,
you're opening it up.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. And so it's instead of, like a turkey's super thick, so you get different heats to go through it.
Yeah.
When you flatten it out, you can do different techniques and I guess marinades and stuff with it. So
yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. A lot of butter, a lot of herbs.
Yeah. And I also do a pancetta green bean that's pretty decent.
Oh, can you send me that recipe?
Yeah.
Send me that recipe?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, sweet. All right. See, ain't got any Vietnamese Thanksgiving stuff, or is it just a gringo thing at your house?
But it's so funny, right? I've converted my wife to a number of different things since we've been married. One is avocados. Like she was never into avocados. Right now, she's artichokes. Now
do they have avocados in Vietnam or no?
It's not they probably do. It's not staple of their dishes. Neither artichokes.
They don't have a lot of Mexicans in Vietnam.
No. But the funny thing is, so my wife's family all comes over for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. And they're growing up, they just never really had a traditional, even here in the United States, traditional Thanksgiving, not even really a traditional Christmas dinner. And they start texting us like 3 months, 4 months ahead of time. We can't wait. What's on and then they take home like leftovers. Like we make double or triple everything because we're just going to load people up when they leave. So it's a big event here. Let me tell you.
I love it.
Sounds like you do right.
Brian Lund, ladies and gentlemen, a fan favorite. The chat is loving you. Keep up the good work, my man. Send me over that recipe, please.
Will do.
All right. Thank you, sir.